And good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar, Getting Creative in the Kitchen with MS, just in time for the holiday season. Hopefully we can find some tips to make your holiday meal preparation easier and less fatiguing. My name is Brian Thompson, and I'm the Programs Manager for Can Do MS. And for those of you new to our organization, we are an innovative provider of lifestyle empowerment programs for people living with MS and their support partners. Through our programs, we empower people to manage their disease and move beyond their MS by adopting active and healthy lifestyle behaviors. For more information on Can Do MS and the different programs that we offer, please visit our website, www.mscando.org. And we do a lot of in-person programs all over the country as well as online programs. You can also find more information about Can Do MS on our different social media outlets. So tonight's webinar, we have three major objectives. We try to pick out learning objectives for every webinar. And tonight we have three goals. One is to recognize what gets in the way of us eating well. Two, identify practical solutions to manage meal planning, grocery shopping, cooking, and setting up your kitchen for success. And three, creating a personal plan to take the stress out of holiday meals. It's my honor at this time to present our two consultants that will be addressing you this evening. Anna Cotton is an occupational therapist and works in acute care at Vail Valley Medical Center here in Vail. Previously, Anna served as the Director of Programs right here at Can Do MS. And inspired by the opportunities to help people with multiple sclerosis, Anna returned to school and received her Master's of Occupational Therapy from the Colorado State University. Since then, Anna has worked in a variety of rehabilitation settings, including inpatient rehab, outpatient rehab, and home health. And then Denise Nowack, for the last 20-plus years, has designed health education programs for the National MS Society and served as the Executive Vice President of Chapter Programs, Services, and Advocacy with the Southern California and Nevada chapter. As a registered dietitian, Denise played an instrumental role in establishing a wide array of wellness-based programs addressing the unique needs of those affected by MS. Recently, Denise brought her talents and expertise to another great organization, the Girl Scouts of Greater Los Angeles, where she is currently serving as the Chief Mission Delivery Officer. So at this time, it's my honor to pass the reins over and welcome Anna and Denise to talk about getting creative in the kitchen.
Hi everyone, this is Denise, and we're going to get going here today. It's exciting to be presenting this program for you because I think we've heard through the years one of the things there people get stuck is really around what can I do to eat well and how do I make it happen and manage it. So what we're going to start with right off the bat is just to take a look at what gets in the way of eating well and what keeps you from eating well. And this is a polling opportunity for you to answer this question and give us some feedback, and we'll take it from there.
So on your screen, you'll see a polling question, and you, the audience, have the opportunity to share your thoughts on what keeps you eating from well. So you can click on as many of those choices as you'd like, and then click Submit, and we will see what the responses look like. All right, we've got 40, 50 responses coming in. It looks like Too Tired to Cook is our leader. Why don't we take a couple more seconds, and then we'll see what the results are looking like, and then we can go from there.
Looks like we're just about there, Brian, huh?
Yeah, thank you for everyone for participating. This is great feedback. So I think
really
by an overwhelming margin, Too Tired to Cook.
Yeah, so as we look at actually some of the themes that come out here, and we hear this quite so often, is when it comes to meal management and preparing meals, and that's really an important part of eating well. By the time someone gets up to the end of the day, it just can be so overwhelming, and the consequence of that is that people don't eat. And then we see the second thing is really cooking is too much work. But if we look at the next runners up is are you set up for success? Do you have the right stuff on hand to eat well, and can you get organized and get some ideas on what to make? So we are really excited because I think today our presentation is going to hit the spot. We're going to take a really in-depth look at making eating well easy, from meal planning to grocery shopping to the way your kitchen is set up, and then finally the meal preparation side. Really, truly, good nutrition is essential to everyone, and you can't let your MS symptoms sabotage you necessarily, and particularly as we enter into the holidays. We're going to use that as part of our backdrop to our conversation today. That's a time where even the best of us get the stress, the burden of stress, and the thought of holiday entertaining just becomes so overwhelming. But I think as we look at these strategies that we're going to carry forward, think about them in terms of the holidays, but also think about how you can employ these in everyday life even after the holidays are over. So a real key to making meals easy and simple is to really kind of have a plan and keep your menu simple. We really talk about sort of focusing your efforts, and we'll get a good example of that in a minute. So if we look at easy to prepare items, they usually have 5 ingredients or less. As you think of your menu, just don't make it too complicated. Think of your entree as the centerpiece, and then round it out in terms of your sides, your salad, your main dish. I'm going to give you an example of that. And this is a way that you can map out a lot of different things in your life, but I'm going to use it for menu planning, and I sort of consider it a mind map. And especially if you have challenges of tracking things cognitively, this can be really helpful. So when we started out, here's our holiday theme here. We really are trying to think about what we're going to cook. With the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, for most, turkey or some version of that is the centerpiece or main attraction. But what else could be a part of this? Okay, you can have dinner rolls, an appetizer, keeping it to this very simple one of each type of thing, a side dish like rice, or sweet potatoes, cream spinach. Perhaps this is a family favorite, and perhaps a tossed salad. So this is a way to sort of get your ideas out on what you might want to serve. But as you start to sketch out your game plan, are there ways you can simplify the process? And the bottom line theme is, what can save your time and your energy? Because what you want most to do is to enjoy that time with friends and family and not be worn out by the time the meal preparation is over. So we're going to take a look at some of the things we can do in terms of simplifying things and some time-saving shortcuts. Also explore options for the oven. The oven is an piece of equipment in our kitchen that gets overloaded, especially during meal preparation. And are there different things you can use that can be used for cooking and heating that may make that easier as well? Can you shop and cook in advance? This is a great part of the planning piece, is to take a look at how can you take advantage and spend your energy over time so that it all doesn't happen on the day of. And also question, do I make it or do I not make it? Are there other options that one can take advantage of that doesn't require that you actually do the cooking or the preparation of the product, and what resources might be available to you? And we'll share some of those. I like the favorite of say yes to guests. So if people say, hey, can I bring something? it's the perfect opportunity to say, why yes, sure. And we can certainly take a look at how you can plan that into your activities. Let's move on then to the whole area of making meals easy and time-saving shortcuts. I'm a big fan of ready-to-use and really buying things that are pre-cut, pre-cleaned, shredded. These kinds of things can take 5 or 10 minutes out of parts of your meal preparation. You can use frozen staples, and a great example of this is even in everyday meals, to be able to keep things in your freezer that you can pull out and use at the last minute. It's sort of like your reserves. There are so many options for pre-made dips and sauces. So look at the options that are available to you and look at your menu and see if there is ways to introduce these types of things. Again, energy saving, energy conservation is so critical. So if we go back to sketching out our game plan again, we can see that we can look at the turkey. Do you want to roast your turkey, or can you order it? The local grocery stores offer quite often the turkey roasted, and all you need to do is to reheat it. Dinner rolls, you can buy these in advance, keep them in your freezer, and just pull them out and reheat them. So this is something that can be part of your plan in advance. If we look at something like an appetizer, is there a way that the kids can get involved? And we'll go into this one in a little bit too, just to give you some recipe ideas. And then, I love this now because there's so many ways that you can jazz up rice. There are frozen rice products from whole wheat or whole grain to wild and brown and white rice blends. And there's ways you could definitely toss in other ingredients to make it look like you prepared this from scratch. And then can you use your slow cooker? And if you get online and you take a look, there are recipes that you can just put the ingredients in the slow cooker, and by the time your meal is ready, this is ready to go as well. And is there a way that you can just assign this task to somebody? Aunt Jo perhaps is the perfect person to make that cream spinach dish. And this is when saying yes to guests can make a difference. And if you do need to prepare some things, can you prepare it in advance? The day before, you can put the ingredients to a tossed salad minus the salad dressing, layer it with the most solid ingredients in between each sort of brittle or fragile layer like lettuce or spinach, and then put a paper towel over the top and wrap it and put it in your refrigerator. Again, you can make this the day before and then toss it the next day. But if we really get down to it, you might just want to say, hey, I'm only going to do 2 things. I'm going to roast the turkey, and I'm going to have the appetizers ready for the guests to be able to bring the rest of it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think part of it is looking at, some people think the idea of hosting Thanksgiving is almost impossible. But this is where we really can get our family involved in helping, and even in the cleanup too. So hopefully these are ideas that you might be able to think about and employ as you step into this holiday season. But again, these things can also apply to, in a much smaller scale, to everyday eating. So I think at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Anna.
Thanks, Denise. We want to talk about shopping and just making sure that you plan ahead like Denise is talking about, and really think about in advance going into the shopping, not only for holidays but just for your weekly meal planning. So we suggest you make meal plans first and then make your list. This can help keep you focused in the store and cut down on buying things that you don't need or that don't make sense for that upcoming week. We suggest you keep your pantry nice and stocked with essential ingredients, your top 10 favorite meals. And this is more on a regular basis that you can, on the, like a non-holiday topic or a non-holiday week, really plan for your week with familiar meals and things that you're used to making. And then in terms of holidays, definitely shopping earlier and not waiting into the last minute. There's lots of sales going on, I think, already for holidays, and it's worth your time to think about what you're going to be making now, and so you can stock up and slowly get all those ingredients so it's not a rush as you get closer to those holidays. Or just in general, making sure your pantries are stocked and your fridge is stocked every week, and so you're not coming home from work and having to figure out what dinner is without any ingredients in your fridge or pantry. And then this is a big one of honoring your budget. So taking advantage of sales and coupons. I know a lot of stores have like value cards and ways that you can take advantage of their specials. They might also send out coupons, or you can apply online to receive coupons. And just really that helps take down the cost of getting these fresh ingredients and these things that you'll need for your pantry and your freezer and fridge. And then buying in season, that can definitely help on the budget and also help always create interesting meals and keep changing your menus with what's in season. And it could be the same thing like Denise was talking about with a rice meal. That could be your base idea that's an easy go-to for you, and then you just change the vegetables in it based on what's in season. You can stock up when there's markdowns. And again, the holidays is a great time to do that when they put some of those staples that everyone uses on a regular basis on markdown. You can stock up. And then lastly, you can buy and stock up and then use those items, and then when you're out of them, go back and buy them again. So making sure you always have in stock those things that you use on a regular basis. Denise, I think this is back to you on your pantry. Oh.
Yeah, and some of the ideas around even with buy versus use is what do you buy, and then how do you use them, and can you buy in bulk and then package them for future use. I'm big on stocking up for success, and I think this is a really key to managing the uncertainty around MS and also the uncertainty of everyday life. When it comes to keeping things in your cupboards, what things can be there as staples. And I live by this myself, and I find it so helpful, especially when I get stuck. So things like fast cooking grains and pastas, there are some of these things that come prepackaged now, and you could just pop them in the microwave, and in 90 seconds they are they're heated. Low sodium broths and soups are real staples and can add flavor to the dishes that you cook. Certainly seeds and nuts, a great way to add fiber. Salad dressings and sauces, marinades, these are all great things to really make meals in minutes. Prepared tomato products, canned beans. I tend to buy these canned products with no added salt from a lower sodium perspective, and then tend to rinse them. So sodium is a concern for individuals, and there's been some conversations out there about the relationship of salt and sodium in MS. It's a great way to manage some of that sodium issues. And when we get to the freezer, things like cooked meatballs, stuffed pastas. I always keep a selection of frozen rices in there, frozen vegetables like peas and spinach and corn are some of my staples. Again, we talked about the dinner rolls. Yes, it's great to have them super fresh, but you could also, again, for convenience sake, we heat them up, just keeping these in for to have on call. Shrimp, chicken breasts or tenders, healthy frozen meals. You know, you can buy these things, and one of the participants on the call said, you know, is they plan their shopping trips based on sale items, and then they stock up and then they're on sale, and they keep an eye on when things are ready to expire and can get them for half off. And that's that part of honoring your budget. You can freeze those things, and it sort of stunts their progressive time frame, and when you bring them out and use them right away, it's a great way to shop and save those pennies if you're watching your budget. And then in the refrigerator, you know, certainly fresh produce is great, and while buying ready to use can have a few extra pennies associated with it, it also can help save you energy and time if you don't feel like you have that on a regular basis. Now certainly you can also pre-cut and clean on your own, or you can have somebody help you with that, and package those in containers, and with some of those foods you can freeze them. Shredded cheeses, I love whoever invented shredded cheese. It certainly has been a game changer. But as you see here, other things like yogurt, non-fat yogurt. I even use non-fat Greek yogurt more in substitutions for things like sour cream. So if you're looking at dips for the holiday season or at home, it's a great way to cut those calories, still get the calcium, and still have the texture of a flavorful dip. Again, salads in a bag. Some of these things just can really make life easier. And so now we talk about getting ready to shop. And Anna's got some great ideas in this department.
So we want to talk about what you're going to plan on before you go to the store. So obviously first things first is starting with a list. So you can make a paper list on the fridge. And this is a picture here of somebody that created a template of all of their pantry items, the ones similar to what Denise just covered, all of their staples with those like 10 meal ideas in mind, and then checking off this list as they go of what runs out during that week. And this is a great way to just reduce the cognitive strain of making a list. You know, we've all been there where we've sat down to make our grocery list for the week and our mind just blanks out. What am I going to make? What am I going to do? This is a great way to have some easy reminders, and then you just tick off as you go. And it's a great way to get the family involved with making the list as well. So you can teach your other family members and kids to check off when they use the last of something. There's also a lot of apps that you can use on your tablet or smartphone to help make lists. And I have a little list here of just a few examples. And they have some really nice features that I wanted to point out that can just help make meal planning and grocery shopping easier. This Grocery IQ app, you can have lists and sync between different users. So maybe you and your spouse both add to the list and both do shopping. So you can sync the list between the two users, and that way each person always has the update list. It also has a barcode scanner. So if you run out of items, you can just scan the barcode and it will add it to your list. And you can find coupons back to honoring your budget. The Paprika Recipe Manager was nice because it organizes your recipes and makes meal plans directly inputting that into your grocery list. So if meal planning is hard for you, coming up with ideas, this might be a good option to help with that. And then the Shopping Pro, this syncs content between users again, so you can sync lists, but you can also create multiple lists. And then the Smart Shopping List was great if you have to be really budget conscious. It can help set your budget and help you stay on track with that. Here's an example of the Shopping Pro app. And what I wanted to point out here was how you can plan the different lists on the left-hand side, which would be great for holidays if you're planning a big meal coming up and you want to start stocking up on items in advance. You can create those different lists and keep them going as you shop and checking off items. This was the Smart Shopping List app, and I wanted to show you on here how you can track your budget. not only as you plan your list, but as you go through the store, you can tick things off and know if you're on budget or not. So just a couple examples. If you are used to using your smartphone or tablet and want to use it to help making shopping easier. The other really nice thing is it organizes your items in the order of the grocery store, so you take that out of consideration in terms of saving your energy as you actually go into the store. Which leads me to some tips to being a savvy shopper. So shop when you have the most energy. This goes back to that whole planning piece. Don't leave shopping till the end of your workday, smushed in between getting off work and picking up kids. That's just not going to be a successful shop, and that's going to really take too much energy. So try to plan it for a time when you know your energy is sufficient enough to get through the store and to have that mental focus to choose items and look for sales and all of that. If you can, planning that for times that the store isn't in peak hours itself, because during those peak hours there can just be so much stimuli going on and really cause extra cognitive strain and stress that is unneeded. So are there times that you can go that maybe it's quieter, there's less people there, there's more options to get help from associates at the store, thinking about things like that. And then I talked about this with the apps. Organizing your list by the layout of the store is really helpful in terms of conserving your physical energy and your cognitive energy. So if you have that list organized and you don't have to think about, okay, I'm in the produce and scanning your list for all the produce items. If they're already just right there, that's just going to save you a lot of energy. And then focusing on the perimeter of the store first. Usually this is where the most fresh items are and the healthier items are. And then if you can navigate the inner aisles as you need, but steering clear of those items that or those aisles that you're prone to impulse shopping, whether it's the cookie or the chip aisle, only go down there if you need to. And then lastly, thinking about the store, you might want to use a mobility device. And you can see this photo here is of a woman using the electric carts. And that is a great way, even if you don't need to use a mobility device on a regular basis, this can help you save energy during your shopping trip and leave energy for something else important to you during the day. Continuing with being a savvy shopper, we want you to think about ways that you can ask for help. And that can start with somebody shopping for you. Can you divvy up the chores within your family of somebody makes the list and somebody does the shopping, or maybe you can send a child that's driving to the store. It's a great way for them to learn shopping and just life tasks. Or can a neighbor or a friend shop for you if you live alone and it's just too hard for you? Think about that, and I'm sure somebody might be willing to help you out. Then also other ways to ask for help. When you go to bag your items, you can ask them to just bag a few items per bag, and that way your bags aren't too heavy when you need to take them into the house, and you can do more trips, not as much weight. And then you could also just ask for help once you get home unloading your car or loading it at the store. I know they're always willing to help with that at my local store, so hopefully yours as well. And then I want to talk about what if shopping is just not an option? What if it's just too fatiguing, it's too much of a physical challenge, you don't have the time, any of those reasons. There's some great options online to do pickup and delivery services for your grocery shopping. And I tried to find options that would be around the country. And these are some really broad stores that do these, and you might have different options in your local community. But these are ways that you can put your list in online, and then the groceries are automatically delivered to your doorstep, and you can choose what time of day they're delivered. And this is a great way to do shopping from your home computer and really take out the physical stress of shopping, some of the cognitive stress of shopping, and of course the energy required in shopping. They all tended to look pretty affordable to me in terms of the fee associated with it, but you can look in your own community and see if this is an option for you. I think.
No, I was going to say one of our callers shared that in their area that if they order, if their groceries are more than $100, that delivery fee is waived. And what's really kind of nice about some of these services is they'll actually bring it into the house and onto your counter so that you don't have to. It's not just like it's dropped at your door. Some of the stores also will have that available for you and you can pick it up. But certainly the convenience of that drop-off delivery is, again, an energy saver. And I've had people who did this for their loved ones. A mom whose daughter had MS. When her daughter may have an exacerbation, she would go online and order her groceries so that she wouldn't be having to worry about whether she was eating well or not. So it is really a great resource that may not be too terribly priced and reasonably affordable.
That's great. And what I was going to say earlier too is, Denise, I think you talked about this in the first part of the presentation, and I want to hit home, is that we really want to challenge all of you out there to think of different ways of doing things that maybe you've been doing just out of routine, but maybe there's a different option. So I think this pickup and delivery option is a great thing to think about, and maybe you don't use all the time. Maybe it's just an idea in the back of your head to use in those busy weeks or busy times as an alternative to using the energy to actually go grocery shopping. So now I want to transition to thinking about your kitchen and the organization of your kitchen. So think about, each of you has a different kitchen and a different setup and different needs. I just want you to think about it as I go through these suggestions and maybe tuck away a few ideas of what you could do to make your kitchen work better for you. And really, using a little bit of time and energy to organize your kitchen can go a long way in terms of making meal planning easier for you, and meal preparation require less energy and be more efficient. So think about where your items are placed in your kitchen and if they make sense or not. So things like, are your glasses near your sink or your refrigerator, so that when you need to get a drink, you're not having to walk across your kitchen to do that? Or are your knives near their cutting boards? Things like that. Pairing things that are used together in the kitchen in the same location can help save energy. Then placing your frequently used equipment in easy to reach places. This is really big. If you have pots and pans or mixing bowls or maybe something like a KitchenAid, that you're always reaching up into cupboards and getting into awkward positions to get out, that can use a lot of energy and be a deterrent to using those items. So can you place those frequently used items in easy to reach places? And don't be afraid to leave things on the counter. A lot of people don't like to do that. They think it looks like clutter, but it really can make cooking easier. And same with pots and pans. Can you leave the heavy skillet on your range and not have to put it away and get it out every time you're going to use it? Thinking of solutions like that can go a long way. I also want to challenge you to think about creating a workstation in your kitchen where you can store all your essential items and reduce trips around the kitchen. You can waste a lot of energy by walking around your kitchen as you're making your meals. And so I want to challenge you to think about where you can set up and be somewhat close to everything. And this can be either sitting or standing, and do a lot of the meal prep in that one spot. And whether it's chopping items or mixing items, and doing it all just right, nice position. And then clearly store and label your pantry items. This can go a long way in terms of reducing that cognitive strain and stress that comes with meal planning and cooking. So if you have a pantry that's really cluttered and you can't see anything and you don't know what you have, that's going to be really hard to make meals easy and efficient. So if you can clearly store everything and label it, it goes a long way in terms of the day-to-day cooking. And then along those lines, just keeping your kitchen clutter and distraction-free can really help. Additionally, I want you to think about your position in the kitchen we talked a little bit about sitting versus standing. There's a lot of ways you can conserve your energy, and sitting would be one of them. So can you set up your workstation at the kitchen table and sit there to do a lot of your meal prep like this woman is doing? That's a great option. Or maybe bringing in a bar stool or a taller chair into the kitchen and sitting at the counter and helping save your energy in that regard. I want you to think about avoiding awkward and fatiguing positions. So this would be doing anything for a prolonged period of time that's where you're twisting or bending or reaching. That can just really use your energy up quickly. So an example I can think of is peeling potatoes. If I do that in my kitchen, I'm usually hunched over the trash, and it can really wear on me after a couple of minutes. So especially with the holidays coming up, everyone's going to be making mashed potatoes. Instead, can you bring something like a trash bowl? I think that's a Rachel Ray idea, but I'll steal it from her. Can you bring it to the counter and do your peeling right in front of you? So chest height, you're not bending, you're not having to hold that awkward position. That can really save your energy. And then I know for a lot of people I've worked with MS, heat is a huge deterrent to being in the kitchen. So with that heat sensitivity, can you think of a place in your kitchen that has good airflow and away from your oven or stovetop that you can make that workstation? And then getting back to bringing items to your level, can you do everything in that chest height right in front of you, not reaching, not bending, not twisting to anything, but having it right in front of you can go a long way. Also in the kitchen, there's a lot of times that we have to transport items, and this can add to the fatigue of cooking. So here are some options that you can use to reduce that. And as I'm making all these suggestions, they might seem kind of far-fetched or different than the way you're doing them, but I really challenge you to put a few of these into play and see if it doesn't make a difference for you. See if you don't feel a little bit better after your meal planning and preparation if you put a few of these into play and see just if you have a little bit more energy. So one is sliding items across the counter instead of carrying them. Back to that example of making mashed potatoes. If after you boil those potatoes, you put them on a hot pad and slide them across your counter to your sink to drain them, instead of carrying that hot, heavy pan, it can make a difference. Little changes like that can add up. You can also use some of these items that I have pictures of here, like the rolling cart or walker or wheelchair trays, to help transport items across your kitchen to that workspace that we talked about, and just make it easier for you, less strain on your physical body, and then also just organizing items to have all together at once. So as you start your meal preparation, you have all your items in the same location and you can start putting them together easily. For the holidays, I think a good example of this would be if you're going to bake something. So back to that organization of your pantry, having all your baking items stored in the same location, so your flour and your sugar and your baking powder, baking soda, vanilla, all of those types of options. So then when you go to bake, you can easily put them all on your cart or on your tray, wheel them to your workstation, and then begin the mixing and combining of ingredients all at once, and you're not having to walk back and forth across your kitchen or forgetting items that are on the ingredients. It can help with the cognitive strain and the physical strain of cooking. There's a lot of tools out there that can make cooking easier and help combat some of the symptoms of MS. So I have pictured here a few options. The first is a Swedish cutting board, and this can make the two-handed task of cutting into a one-handed task that makes it safe and efficient. So if you have weakness in one hand or the other, or just not able to use it, maybe you have not as good a range of motion or ideas like that, you can use a Swedish cutting board, and it can make it safe for you to still chop and grate and prepare items on a cutting board. The finger guard is a great option if you have something like a tremor in your hands, or maybe you don't have very good vision and you're afraid of cutting yourself when you're chopping items. This is a great solution. And then the pour aid can be used if you have weakness in your hands and arms and aren't able to lift a whole gallon of juice or milk like what's pictured, and to help pour items. These are just a few examples of what we would consider adaptive equipment for the kitchen. And I've listed these 3 websites that have these items as well as many others that you can go on and just search the kitchen section of these websites and see if there might be some solutions for your specific needs of the kitchen. And I also want to suggest some just everyday tools that can make cooking easier. So on the top left here is a one-handed chopper that can help with chopping vegetables or nuts, things like that. And this is a great safe way to chop for an adult or for children. So if you want to help get your kids involved with cooking, this is a great way to help making chopping items safe for them. On the lower left is a couple pictures of OXO, it's spelled O-X-O products, and they are great products that are sold. I see them all over in Bed Bath & Beyond and Target. All of your regular shopping locations have this brand, and they have really good built-up handles, and this just makes cooking easier if you have weakness in your hands or not as good of range of motion or possibly arthritis in your hands. These tools are great. It's the same brand that makes the center item, these mixing bowls, and they're nice because they have a non-slip surface on the bottom, so it's easier to mix one-handed, and you can also pour out of these bowls easier with one hand because they have that little spout. So thinking of items like this that you can use every day. And then on the top right-hand corner is the pizza cutter. So thinking of tools in your kitchen that you might be able to use for different purposes, such as a pizza cutter, it's great for cutting other things safely as well. So cutting sandwiches or quesadillas, it can just make it easier and safer. And also be one-handed, which I know is huge for a lot of folks with MS. And then on the bottom right-hand corner, I have a picture of an apple cutter. And this kind of represents a larger category of kitchen tools that are for one specific purpose, but make that task much easier and quicker. So for this example, obviously it's an apple cutter. And if you and your family eat a lot of apples and you're always packing lunches for kids or yourself on the go kind of food, this is a great tool to make that task easier and just quicker. But I don't want you to go on the extreme of kitchen tools because I think that that can also get your make for a really cluttered kitchen. So I always suggest that people pick a few that you know you're going to use on a regular basis and that could really decrease that time and energy involved in meal planning and preparing, and go for that and go for those kinds of tools. On here is a picture of Diem, which is a multi-purpose kitchen use material. And what it is it's a really kind of sticky material, but not in the sense of it'll stick on your hands. It just gives you extra grip. So for things like opening containers or creating a non-slip surface, this is a great material. It can also assist with one-handed cooking to make an item more grippy or a bowl not slide if you're mixing it. And then lastly, it can create a good color contrast for people with difficulty with vision. So it can create that contrast so you can make it safer to be chopping items or have that background of a darker color with your maybe lighter bowl where you can see things more easily. And Denise, I think this was where you picked back up.
Yeah, and so we were talking earlier about how to save your oven space, and when that oven gets a little bit crowded, what other options can you use? But as you look at these 3 items here, just also remember these are items that can keep your kitchen cool in the hotter times of the year. So being able to employ the use of a slow cooker, or a toaster oven, which kind of serves as a mini oven, or the microwave can really extend your ability to cook in the kitchen. Now when I was looking at some of these things like the slow cooker, if I was confused as to what to cook in that and how I can creatively use that slow cooker, there's a lot of resources online. And I just want to say as we begin to step in to look at recipes and such, part of it is just trying to take a look at, okay, what do I want to cook? And for this presentation I did that and found out that there's a great sweet potato recipe that you can do in the slow cooker. I have never made them that way before, but I would feel comfortable moving forward with that. So whenever you get stuck, just recognize that the Internet can be your guide. And some very easy ways is just to think about the ingredients you have and that you want to use, and be able to go in and look for recipes, and just doing a general search for ingredients like turkey and potatoes and things that might even be left over from your holiday meal. And you can even search for things that are simple recipes. You'll be surprised what comes up. And I tell you, I seldom use cookbooks anymore because, and even as recently as last night, the entire meal that I prepared, I was entertaining. I actually found the recipes and were able to pull them together along with my shopping list quite easily. But let's go back to some of our holiday recipes, because I kind of tempted you with a quick and easy appetizer. And I love this one because it is easy to do. It could be made in advance. It's something that's fun to get the kids involved, and it looks kind of impressive on the table. And it's just cooking up some packaged tortellinis, and you can buy these little mozzarella balls. You can just have them naked, or you can buy them even sort of seasoned, and then cherry tomatoes, and just skewer them. And if you want a little added flair, you can heat up a little marinara sauce, or you can drizzle it with pesto. And the skewers just make it easy to pick up and add to your plate, and it requires no cutting whatsoever to eat. So it's in the easy to eat department as well. I also talked about using frozen rices. Like I said, I use this and employ this a lot. It's a great way to use leftover vegetables and just even plain vegetables. But depending upon what you'd like, you can add nuts to them. If you want a little seasoning, you can add that to them. You microwave the rice, and then you microwave the ingredients and then put them together. And it's like I said, it's really a very simple dish that's ready in 90 seconds. So when you're looking at some of these recipes, these aren't things that necessarily take 30 or 45 minutes. They can take 10 to 15 minutes on the outside. When we start looking at holiday meals and even just entertainment, I think that's one of the things that's really important, and I can't emphasize this enough for anybody, is to keep food safe. And that food safety is a big thing, especially around the holiday time, and that is taking the food and not having it sit around too long, taking safe measures and thawing foods before preparation, and taking the time to take it out of the freezer. So let's say you bought a frozen turkey, putting it in your refrigerator several days in advance to thaw out. But nowadays, even after preparation, you can store things in meal-sized portions that let you go from counter to refrigerator to oven, or when you make a dish from preparation to freezer to oven to refrigerator. And I encourage you to take advantage of these things. First, they really cut down on cleanup, because you can reuse them, and it cuts down on time just on the meal prep time. You make sure that you are using, if you're using these in the microwave or the oven, that you use heat resistant containers as well. And there's certainly a lot of varieties out there. This is really the latest and greatest in terms of kitchen and meal equipment. I also talk about doing a leftover makeover. So I'm going to give you a couple ideas on how to reinvent the turkey and some other holiday favorites. So most often, unless you have a big family, there could be some things left over in the turkey. This could also be something like if you buy an oven roasted, or if you buy a roasted chicken at one of the big box stores or the grocery stores, you might have leftovers there. So I encourage taking that and making your own turkey pot pie. And if you take puff pastry and you keep it in your freezer, you take it out, you can bake it off in the oven. But if you add the other ingredients together in a bowl, some chopped turkey, some thawed frozen vegetables, or whatever leftover vegetables you may have, with a low sodium cream and mushroom soup, put it in a little ramekin. You could heat it on the stove. You could heat it in the microwave, and the puff pastry is baked in advance and just placed right on top. It's really a simple, simple dish that is a makeover of an old favorite. And you control the sodium content by buying lower sodium content foods. The other thing is, for some holidays people have ham, and this is really, a lentil soup has become a staple for me, especially at work, because I can't always get out to work. And so if I keep some spinach in the refrigerator at work and then a can of soup, you can add some chopped ham or chopped turkey or chicken, whatever you have around, leftover vegetables, heat the can of soup in the microwave, add the spinach, and you get a really nice nutrient-rich meal that's pretty filling. Add a whole wheat roll or some other side to it, and you've rounded that out. So there are many ways that you can do a leftover makeover. And again, going back to some of the resources on the Internet, they can give you some ideas on how to use that. If we take a look at meal kit services, Anna, you had some ideas here.
Yeah, I just did a search online of some areas of we can deliver meals, and what these are they are kit services, and they've gotten really popular lately. And what they are you can sign up for them and pick your choices from what they have, whether you want to do dinners or lunches and breakfasts as well, whatever it might be. And then they send you pre-portioned meal kits with a recipe to follow and to make your, let's say, dinner item. So they'll send you the vegetables and the meats and any other condiments that go with it, and then the recipe card right there to follow. And what they're really aimed at doing is cutting down on that meal prep time and that shopping time for busy individuals and families. And they can be a little bit more expensive than if you were just to do your own grocery shopping and meal preparation. But it's a great idea to have in the back of your mind for if meal planning, preparation, shopping, all of that is just too much for you, maybe all the time, or maybe it's just during a given week or given busy period. These are a great option to turn to where you can still have fresh, nutritious food kind of catered to you in a short time to prepare it, and you're still eating and you're still getting good dinners in. And I know we had a comment earlier from someone that said they lived alone, and so meal planning was challenging in that regard. This could be a great option if you live alone and to still get some fresh, good meals throughout the week. Like I said, there's a little bit more of a cost associated with these, so maybe it's something you can only do once in a while. Maybe it's just something you do, say, coming up this busy season of holidays, maybe you do a couple of times, a couple weeks in a row or something. Or maybe you have the resources to do this on a regular basis and it's the only way you can get good fresh meals, and that's a great option too. you'll see.
You know, Anna, I use
oh,
these.
yeah.
I think these kits are really good for people who want to explore new ways of eating as well. And so, if you're not used to, like, where do I start? You know, these kind of kits can give you some ideas, and you can explore it on your own time and pace. So if you really feel up to something like this, you can say, hey, I'm going to give this a go and see what new ideas I can learn, and maybe then take some of those and integrate them into the way you eat on a regular basis. So you might not have to keep incurring these costs on an ongoing basis, but sort of like a tutorial, like your own personal cooking lesson in your home that you can follow. So they can be kind of fun from that perspective.
That's a great idea, and I've actually heard from people that once they've used these services for a little bit of time, then they're able to incorporate the ideas and suggestions that they've learned, and it actually makes cooking easier. They're out and meal planning easier. So that's a great idea there, Denise.
Yeah.
Then lastly, this kind of wraps up our presentation. So we want to ask you again, similar to our first question, but now we want to know what strategies will you use to make eating well easier for you. So we're going to have a poll here, and we'd love to hear what we've talked about tonight you're able to incorporate or think you might be able to incorporate.
So again, you can answer as many options as you'd like. Go ahead and click on as many choices as relates to you and click Submit, and we'll see what kind of responses we get. All right, thank you everyone for participating. Looks like hopefully planning ahead for meals and groceries, and trying those easy to prepare recipes. That was very helpful to hear.
You know, Brian, as people continue to answer, I think one of the things around planning ahead is, you know, the time I do something like this, I'll take a cup of coffee and sit down in a chair and really just sort of relax and reflect, rather than, you know, having to be at the time when I'm just trying to head out the door to go grocery shopping. So it is, especially if you want to make this a pleasant experience, you know, it certainly is a better way to approach it, or a more productive way to approach it that again honors your energy and your focus around this. So, wow, some great ideas. You guys took away a little bit of everything.
Yeah, this is great to see.
I like those easy to prepare recipes. Nice.
Yeah, one of the listeners wrote in that I think it was your tortellini recipe, Denise, with the tortellini and the cheese and tomatoes, that would actually be a great light lunch as well.
It is, and it never fails to impress. You know, you look like the most gourmet chef. It's my go-to, and even if it's just the tomatoes and mozzarella balls, those are with a little bit of the prepared pesto can go a long way. Feel like a real master chef.
Oh, excellent. That's a pretty wide range. So that's nice to see. Well, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for participating tonight and for your great comments and questions. And thank you, of course, to Anna and Denise for joining us this evening and bringing your different perspectives on making holiday and just meal preparation for everyday life easier and less fatiguing. We do have a few minutes, so if you have any questions, feel free again in that lower left-hand corner to write those in. We do have time for a few questions, and actually the most popular question we've received, and Denise, you may be in the best position to answer this, is you suggested to make meal prep easier to use frozen and refrigerated ingredients, but how does that counteract with the nutritional value? A lot of people we hear, frozen stuff is less nutritious, has more preservatives. How do you balance that?
Well, it's really interesting because nutritional value does change. And so if you go to the store and you purchase something, and then if you buy fresh, of course if you can get fresh ingredients and you use them right away, that's really great. But little nutritional value is lost in the frozen process. And they aren't necessarily as high in sodium as perhaps the canned products. So fresh is always kind of my go-to, but there are some things that are just as easy in the frozen department. But don't think that because a food is frozen that it definitely has less nutritional value. The way you prepare it could impact the nutritional value. So if you turn your green beans or spinach olive green, you're compromising the nutritional value. I am a child that grew up on olive green beans. But you can, it really depends upon how you handle that food. The other thing is that we look at some foods, like even canned foods, it's not that it's just convenience, because there's not always a lot of added ingredients in the canning process, though sodium is often, salt and sodium is often part of that. You have to make choices over what can remain shelf stable, especially as we get in, you only have so much room in your freezer, and the nutritional value actually might not be compromised as well. Tomato products, for instance, the nutritional value, the vitamin C content of that goes up when you heat them. So there's things that do better under heat. So of course, if you're buying in season, you have a chance to buy fresh. That's great. If it sits in your refrigerator for a week or so and starts to wilt, it's probably not much better than anything that you might buy canned or frozen. So I use that as a guide.
Excellent. And actually on that note, we did have one viewer just ask, explain when and for how long you should refrigerate your leftovers. So
that's always a dilemma. What's the shelf life of leftover turkey and things? I tend to say, and I might need to go and look at that a little bit more online, or you can as well. But those things, if you get them into the refrigerator shortly after cooking, you have less of a chance of introducing any sort of microbial growth around that. You could probably keep it in the refrigerator for a couple days. If you want to prepare it in something and freeze it then, it sort of is very fine to take out and then put into the microwave. So if you think you're going to, or in the oven, if you think you're going to keep it for not using it for more than a couple days, I might do something with it and then freeze it. Things like potatoes and vegetables can last a little bit longer than that. But if you have that cluttered refrigerator, those things can get lost really way in the back. Make sure you store them in sort of airtight containers and not so loosely wrapped in foil, so that the things that float around your refrigerator could sort of contaminate that food. And things that are more cream-based, I might not let hang out around for more than a couple days.
Yeah, well, that's great advice, Denise. Thank you. Anna, this is a great question for you. Dawn wants to know what's the best height for a kitchen island? She was thinking about purchasing an island, but wants it to be accessible with a walker and a wheelchair, but also without. So do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, I think that's a tough question if she wants it accessible both sitting and standing. So what I would say then is to look at what her height is, or his, I'm sorry, I forget which, and then have it chest height. So kind of hitting right at like the belly button would be a good height to prepare meals. And then if he or she is sitting, then if it's just like a little bit of an elevated bar stool, that should work out great for sitting meal preparation. But really you just want to be able to do things right at your kind of torso height, so that you're not having to bend leaning over too much, but you're also not straining to reach up. And usually you can find chairs that can access that height. I know we had a comment in the comment section of someone that I think she said her husband purchased her a rolling barber's chair that barbers use to sit on while they're cutting hair, and those are kind of an elevated height, and then she does her meal prep from that. And I've heard that suggestion before, and that's a great way to use a seated position at the kind of countertop level.
Excellent, thank you. So another question from a couple of people is with your meal prep ideas, certainly trying to include others and share the load. But if you're single and you're doing the holidays alone, any specific advice to try to make things easier if you're truly doing it by yourself?
Well, I think by yourself. I think by yourself really. If you're going to host something, it is really the opportune time to really, get others involved and to make it, a potluck kind of thing. It makes it easier. This is again where you can think about the dishes that you serve, and think about some of those that can be made in advance and frozen. And sometimes I have appetizers that like little spinach balls, where when I have the energy I can make them. I put them in the freezer, and then all I need to do is to reheat them on the day of. You can also perhaps enlist a partner on the day of the event, or a friend or family member on the day of the event, to come in a little early and lend you a hand. I really think you might be impressed to see who might be willing to step into that. And while we want to make our tables so extra fancy and beautiful, sometimes when it comes to cleanup, the paper plates, depending and the size of your group, the paper plates and plastic forks may just be the best answer for you. One of the things we didn't talk about is even with some of our pans and cleanup. If you're baking something like sweet potatoes in a baking pan, line that pan with foil so that when you're done, all you need to do is just fold up those edges, and you're not scraping those little brown bits on the bottom off until your knuckles go red. There's really ways that you can make cleanup easy as well. But I never say no to anybody who says they want to help. And for a person who loves to entertain and kind of likes to have things a certain way, I've let go of that.
I think a great idea too that we didn't really talk about is just getting creative with your holiday events that you want to do, and maybe dinner is not an option. Maybe there's too much involved in that, but maybe tea with just some simple pastries or fruit and baked goods would be an easy option to hosting a holiday event, or a luncheon that can be really simple, like a crock pot full of some nice hearty soup and some good bread to go along with it. I think there's ways to get together during the holidays where you just really prioritize that time with family and friends and let food be part of it, but not really involved cooking.
That's a great idea, Anna. That's really, we forget about that. It's about getting together with folks, and it doesn't have to be just the day of activity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, excellent. And I think it's a good note to end it on, and just remembering what the holidays are all about. And I'm sure we're all going to have a wonderful holiday season. And we just want to thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you, Anna and Denise, for presenting on such a great topic and presenting such helpful and fun ideas. And thank you again for joining us. And for everyone out there, please continue to be involved with MS Can Do. Visit our website. There's archives, webinars on our website, along with articles. Anna and Denise actually wrote a great article on holiday meal prep that associates with tonight's webinar, so you can access that online. We also have a great feature called Ask the Can Do team. So if you have a specific question, you can ask us online, and one of our MS experts will answer it for you. So please take advantage of all those great resources, as well as iconquerms.org. They are doing data surveying and just trying to find out as much as they can about MS and how you're living with MS to try to find a cure and to find an answer. So we certainly encourage you to visit their website, www.iconquerms.org, and participate there to help find a cure for MS. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And every Tuesday, second Tuesday of every month, we do a webinar, and we certainly encourage you to join us again. Our next webinar will be on December 8th, 2015 on invisible symptoms with a focus on managing pain. We'll be joined by social worker Deb Miller and a registered nurse, Lynn Stazzoni, and to talk about those symptoms you can't see and with a focus on pain management.